This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I am Jason Morgan, editor of Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today, we're talking with Sean Whitfield, Director of Truck Marketing with Hendrickson. Sean, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to dive into a topic focused on drivers here. We've been talking a lot about drivers this year, especially, the driver shortage is still going on. COVID has complicated that matter a little bit. And people are really fleets are really putting the focus on the drivers. Taking a cool spin on it today in terms of vocational speccing, right? Those are hard jobs, a lot of in and out of the truck, and you still want to take care of the drivers. So just to kick us off here, from your view, what are the top operational driver comfort considerations? And from the Hendrickson world, what role does the right suspension play in that decision?
Well, I think, one of the things that is really important for these vocational drivers is comfort during the drive itself. Vocational jobs are typically, you get off road, you get on rough work sites and so forth. And those are very, very hard on the body. They're hard on trucks, hard on equipment, hard on the body. So, you want to be as cognizant of the driver's comfort and their health as possible. And one of the ways that Hendrickson really fits into niche is in the suspensions that we design and manufacture and supply to the OEMs. So we have, different types of suspensions for different purposes. Suspensions have evolved a lot over the years, and driver comfort and ride quality and equipment protection has been a big element of that.
For sure. And, it's funny because, you can think vocational trucks. I mean, those lifespans tend to be longer than some of their on-highway brethren, right? And you feel like it's an older truck. It rides a little rougher, but you jump into new trucks and it's a night and day difference. They're really, really comfortable. From your point of view, then, on the equipment side, how can you make sure that fleets are still getting a durable product, right? It can almost be disarming how well they ride, and you want to still make sure these are hardworking trucks are getting the durability. How do you bridge that divide?
That's a great question. We specialize in suspension technology, and we have over 100 years of development in this product category. So, we understand, back in the days, it used to just be a steel spring suspension and, walking beam is our specialty, and that's how you put it out there. And then it evolved a little bit, and air ride became a part of the mix a little bit, but air ride is not always suitable for the rough job applications off-road. We do have 100% off-highway vocational air suspensions available, but it's not right for every circumstance. We have what we've arrived at is we've evolved suspension technology into a rubber elastomer type of product, to where the rubber is used in lieu of the steel springs. So it allows for a much softer ride, but still the way that the design of the suspension is presented, it really gives you greater stability than what an air ride would, and more durability, longevity, low maintenance than what a steel spring suspension would.
Right. And it sounds like, at least to me, from what you're saying here, is like it's really going to depend on my application. Yes, I want to get as much driver comfort as I can, but as you kind of alluded here, I don't want to take it too far, right? I still want to get the durable frame that I need, and I don't want something that rides rough, right? So I assume that's just application driven. I work with my supplier to figure that out, right?
Absolutely. A lot of it is application driven, and an air suspension is not going to be approved for every single application. Where we have, our products, if you take just for instance our Hallmax product, our new Hallmax EX product, those are the rubberized suspensions that have really taken the place of the steel spring suspension over the years. and it's just continually evolving. Ride is improving, empty ride quality. We look at if we get into situations to where a customer might not be 100% certain about if that suspension is right for their application or if another suspension is right or wrong for their application. We have an application approval process, but we always put in front of our OEMs and our customers what the applications are approved for these various suspensions.
I see. So when I go in, I should kind of have a kind of an offering there to kind of choose from and see what would fit that kind of general category, and then we can dive into it based on. I mean, you mentioned empty ride quality, which isn't something that springs to mind initially for me, but definitely something really important if you're doing a lot of empty backhauls, dump truck applications, that kind of thing. You want to make sure that ride home is comfortable as well, right?
Yeah, you bet. And that's something that, when you put the load on a lot of these suspensions, you really get a better ride quality. It doesn't bounce around quite so much. And that's really true of most suspensions. You will get a better ride out of the rubber or the air than you will a mechanical spring suspension. But when it is loaded, it is going to have a better ride than it is when it's empty. Typically empty, like I mentioned, they're going to bounce around a little bit more. You're going to feel a little bit more road shock, and that's true of about any suspension that you have out there. But realistically, the new technologies, the rubber suspensions or elastomers, as we call them, those suspensions are going to have a better ride quality in the empty condition, in the lightly loaded condition, than say a steel spring suspension.
Right, for sure. And those are things that fleet drivers notice. I know fleets like to be able to calculate the ROI. They're watching driver retention quite a bit. And as we're talking more and more about these vocational improvements, I mean, even just the attitude and how they physically feel at the end of the day goes a long way, right? If they're not bouncing around all day, they're less fatigued, they're less stressed, they go home happier. And these are things we're hearing recur throughout the development cycle as these new technologies roll out.
Absolutely. It's again, driver comfort and equipment protection, and clearly performance and maintenance cycles and total cost of ownership. Those are all big keys that we focus on here. And one of the other advantages to the rubber suspensions that I mentioned a little bit earlier is that they do have a lower cost of ownership because of the maintenance involved. And so, you don't have as much lubrication going on with bushings and center bushings and things like that nature. You don't have as much product replacement. You don't have to replace a steel leaf spring. There is some, general maintenance checking on certain components from time to time, just as a regular maintenance point, just to go check it. But it's not necessarily something that you have to take out, grease, replace, etc. The longevity of these rubber components is much better than the steel springs. You don't get, like I mentioned, broken leaf springs and so forth. Another one of the products that we have that traditionally has caused some heartburn over time is torque rods, as associated with rear suspensions, vocational suspensions. And these torque rods, a lot of times the OEMs will use really some commodity-based torque rods, and that have a tendency to maybe they're not as robust as they should be for the applications that they're going in, and the rubber bushings will walk out of the torque rods and so forth and cause some maintenance issues. We've developed some good products over the last couple of years called a Trax rod that goes into our Hallmax EX, our Ultimax, and some of our air suspensions as well. And that product has a encapsulated bushing, if you will, that prevents it from walking out. So it's a more secure, longer lasting product. Gets up to about 5 times the life of a normal torque rod.
Oh, wow. Okay. And I am glad you mentioned the maintenance, because that can turn a fleet manager's day into a really bad day and impact their quality of life, right? I guess I'm kind of surprised that the rubber longevity does so well in the maintenance cycle. I imagine is that due to the rubber compounding and development of that product? I mean, I'm surprised that you said it can go a longer interval than steel. Was that correct?
You hit the nail on the head. Steel over time, it corrodes, it gets brittle. These are extended periods of time I'm talking about. And, they're subject to very harsh environments, and steel corrodes, and it does get brittle or breaks over time. Rubber doesn't have that. It doesn't have that weakness, so to speak. So yes, it is partly in the compound, and a lot of it's in the design as well. We take great pains here in our division here at the truck division to develop these products, and we've come a long way in our elastomer development over the years to make sure that we're designing and introducing products that will endure the conditions that they're required to in these situations.
Okay, can you give me a ballpark idea of some of the maintenance intervals or when fleet should expect to pull a truck in? I know vocational spans a lot of different applications, and it's hard to say, but we've been picking on dump trucks here. So maybe like a dump application that spends a lot of its time on road, but can do some off-road on job sites, delivering loads and that kind of thing. Is there an idea of how often I should be looking at the trucks? Maybe just to your point on the PM side.
Yeah, really, it's going to be dependent upon the application a lot. The vocational applications are so much different than the on-highway applications. We have intervals on our on-highway applications that are based on mileage. It's harder to do that on the vocational side. What we recommend really is when they pull the vehicle in for regular service, just check a couple of points here and there, and make sure that the when you're checking, when you're doing your oil changes or when you're doing your regular servicing, go ahead and do that. If you don't do it, then you should check it once every 6 months or a year or something like that, and make sure that everything is performing properly.
Okay, well, good to know that it's not a special check you got to pull it in for at certain engine intervals or mile intervals. It's good common practice to do it when you're doing your oil and tires.
Yeah, the on-highway product really, that's where you see a lot of those mileage, not restrictions, but guidelines on when you want to pull them in for maintenance and performance checks and so forth.
Right. And another good driver benefit, right? They don't want to have the truck they're driving pulled in for maintenance or cutting into their schedule too. So you got to.
That's the key. Uptime's the key, right? You don't want to take these guys out of their job. That's how they make money. So they buy a vehicle, they buy equipment on the vehicle to make sure that they can optimize their profitability, and that's what we really focus on, is making sure that we're giving them a product that is as low maintenance as possible. Let's face it, they're vocational vehicles, they're vocational trucks, they're in harsh environments, they do very, very hard work. You got to take care of them. You just have to check them every now and then, but it's not something that you're going to get it's going to be a burden. Right, so let's put it that way.
No, you want that truck to last that life expectancy for sure, because they do put in a lot.
Absolutely.
Sean, thank you so much for taking the time. Really great to catch up with you. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again soon.
Thanks again for having me, Jason.